So we're live now, Sam.
Yes, finally. Good, good, good. So we'll just wait a couple of minutes for people to join us, and we'll go. We have a pretty big show this week, so I hope we'll have a lot of people joining. Man, it was a crazy week when you looked at all of what happened. Yeah, we had to choose because there was too much, man.
Yeah, I know,
Hmm.
man. It's crazy, but you know what? At least I like a crazy week more than just a quiet week. So it's gonna be exciting to talk about everything. So we
For
have
sure.
already a person that joined us, and I hope we're gonna have
Yay!
a lot more. Thank you for joining us, and we're just gonna
Person.
wait a few seconds before we start the show. We're gonna wait for other people to join first.
So, Hedy, through all of this, we won't even talk about Marseille, who's banned from transfers.
It's not yet.
Eh,
There's going
Not
to be
yet
an
done?
appeal. There's
uh,
going to be an
Okay.
appeal from the club,
there's
and they're
always an
very
appeal.
yeah they're very confident that it's going to work. So we'll see. We'll
Well,
see.
What's
they
it
they
all
might.
about, man?
Mm, Go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm
you
listening.
were saying, Sam?
No, I was asking you what's it all about, man.
Oh man, I'm not gonna go into it. It's very it's yeah.
Complicated.
Yeah, it's really complicated. I never understand, those bands and everything. So I think we have already like about three people already here.
Yay!
So I think we can start, and then
Yeah,
the
sure.
others will join. And yeah,
Sure can.
let's do that. So guys, we're ready to start right away. So let's start with our famous countdown.
Hello, my friends. My name is Samuel Savy, and this week on the show, Montreal draft two offensive players out of the Super Draft and gain 100,000 in GAM. Gaetan Bong lights up the rumor talks as he was reportedly seen in Montreal this week. CF Montreal preseason camp is officially underway, and unfortunate news for the national team as Alfonso Davies is sidelined with myocarditis. This and so much more in episode 64 of The Ball is Round. And I'm joined by my colleagues Eve Paul and Hadi Rafael. As usual, how are you guys?
I'm
We're fine. We're fine. We're
I'm
trying to be
pretty
fine.
tired. Yeah,
Oh man.
I'm tired after a week of moving.
Oh yeah, true, true. But
You did it, Eve. You did it. It's
I
over.
did it.
You
I moved
moved.
a one-bedroom apartment, every single item in it by myself.
Aw, good
Like
job.
the couch and the bed and everything.
Oh
yeah,
wow,
pretty crazy.
wow,
Huh?
wow.
But
That's good.
even for football, like I was saying in our little intro for the people who are live with us, it's been a pretty crazy week. There was so much of like little incidents left and right, and we had to like choose obviously, and it's gonna be an interesting one because there's a lot to say this week, a lot, man. Guys, do we start right away? We go into the
Yeah,
draft selections, yeah?
I'm ready.
yeah. Let's do this.
So, Montreal drafted, well, they had the 11th choice of the Super Draft this year, and with a little trade, three team trade, finished up with having 100K in GAM and picking 15th overall, where they
Mhm.
chose Jojea Quizera. And we went in the third round because we didn't have a second round draft pick because we had lost that draft pick in the trade that sent Uruti to Houston for Kiki Struna. And we chose Ivy Brisma too. So, yeah, I was pretty surprised by Montreal's performance in the draft. How about you guys?
I think everybody was pretty surprised, including the hosts of the draft.
Oh man, yeah, yeah.
But I was personally pretty thrilled with their first round selection, Cruzeiro, because I think his profile, from what I'd seen on the highlight videos, is definitely kind of in line with what I had hoped Montreal would look for in a player.
Yeah, it's a player that can play on the wing, so that's really nice. A more offensive player than a wing back. That I think
But
that's what you wanted.
could become
And a goalkeeper can become a striker too, like Jorge Campos, right?
and
So
actually, strikers can definitely become central defenders if you ask the LA Galaxy.
Oh yeah.
exactly, exactly. So yeah, so a more offensive profile, which I think is a good thing. Um,
Mhm.
it's gonna be nice. I talked a bit with French college soccer on Twitter, who watches a lot of college soccer, and he's very excited to see Jo join the club. He said that he's going to be a very, very good asset. Now we'll see. Don't forget that all the draftees have don't have a contract yet with CF
No.
Montreal. They have to prove themselves in the draft in order to get maybe a contract, and then get a roster spot with CF Montreal. So as of right now, they're not a part of CF Montreal yet.
But they're trialing.
Yeah.
They're joining the team. I believe Ivy Brisma's already actually joined the squad in Montreal. So they're on trial like any number of players have been in the past, and sometimes that means you get signed, and sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, and I'll drop a little profile for Jujeo Quizero, first round pick. Jujeo was born in the city of Bukavu in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Came to America at the age of 9 years old after being away from his parents in a refugee camp in Tanzania. Played his college ball for the Utah Valley Wolverines, and this is where Montreal drafted him 15th overall. And very interestingly, was coached by former MLS great Kyle Beckerman. And he became the first ever player coming out of this program to be drafted in the MLS. And he's a first rounder. So a really cool story for Quizera. I think everybody roots for him, with the story that he has so far. I just can't wait to see the talent. These highlight videos, they say they
Mm-hmm.
don't say much, to be fair. It's gonna be really when he's gonna be exposed to MLS caliber talent that we'll see where he can fit. But I think so far so good for Cruzeiro. A great story for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is a great story, and what's nice about it is that you said it, guys, a bit earlier. The hosts of the MLS Super Draft were a bit shocked, and were like, "Oh, okay, this
It was
this is a bit
awkward
left."
silence.
Exactly, and it was a bit left field, and you know what? I like that. I like that because that. It seems like CF Montreal have made their homework for the Super Draft. It seems like it. It looks like it because when you go and choose a player in the 15th spot, and you choose a player that nobody's really expecting, that means that it's a player that didn't have a lot of visibility. And I talked a lot with French college soccer. He's called Florian Moget. He's French, and he always tells me, unfortunately, the Super Draft, there is a problem there because you have a big conference that's called the Big Ten, where all the visibility. There's a lot of visibility on the conference that's called the Big Ten, and the other conferences are not shown as much, are not known as much. And that's why a lot of Generation Adidas players come from the Big Ten conference or another one. There's another one, I think Pac-12 is the other one.
Pac-12, yeah.
So, yeah, so it's interesting if you see CF Montreal go outside of these conferences or outside of the most seen conferences. That's a very good thing because I'm sure there's a lot of good players there that are not scouted enough. So I like that. The second thing that I like also about that pick is that there's a lot of a big Congolese community here in Montreal.
Yes.
I
Oh
love
yes.
that, and I'm pretty sure, and no, I know that he does speak a bit of French. Now I don't know his level and how good he is in French, but I know he does speak French. So that's a pretty good thing to go and bring someone that speaks English and French that can, maybe facilitate his adaptation into Montreal and CF Montreal.
Yeah, and I mean, kind of similar. I believe Ivy Brisma was born in Haiti, was he not?
Port-au-Prince, yes. Yes, Port-au-Prince, Haiti, yeah.
Yeah.
So just
And
to
that's
finish
awesome
with
too.
Quizera, guys, a little interesting fact. He was named on the second All-Western Athletic Conference, sporting team, if you want, but on the first academic team. So these are cool things to know for Quizera, who was very into studies also with his football. 4 goals, 10 assists in 22 games. And that was where he got his second All-Western Athletic Conference team selection.
Cool.
Yeah, and we go to Ivy Brisma, full name Iverson Ivy Brisma, and out of the University of North Carolina, selected in the 3rd round by Montreal. Played 69 games in his collegiate career, scored 5 goals, 11 assists.
That's pretty nice. It's a good record, I think. I don't know, I didn't hear a lot about him, so I can't really, give an opinion or anything. But you know what? Again, I think it's a good thing that we go and bring offensive talent from the draft, because you're gonna need depth. You are gonna need depth. So if
we learned that the hard way last season.
Exactly. And if those players are gonna bring an extra an extra profile or an extra kind of player that we don't have within the squad. So why not, give those guys an option, give those guys a chance to show us that they deserve a place in the roster. So I like those choices because it's minimal. The risk is really minimal. So I like that. I really like that.
No,
sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say another point that goes in Brisma's favor is he would have kind of an understanding of how the MLS system works, in that he spent time in the Philadelphia Union Academy. So he has a little bit of knowledge already of that sort of system,
Yeah, an academy that Montreal has complemented a lot through the years. Thierry Henry used to talk about them, I think, weekly, of how they produce some very good academy players into very good MLS players. So it's going to be very interesting to see how these two guys, develop, and if they can find themselves given a role in Montreal. That could be very, very interesting. It's difficult to have information on them. Brisma, we know he's an offensive player, mostly patrolled the wing during his time in North Carolina, but we don't have much more information on him. So it's going to be in the following weeks through camp and through what we learn via Montreal. That's going to be interesting to know where this player is going forward. Following the selections, Olivier Renard gave a presser, Hady, and you were there. Can you talk to us a bit about how this presser went?
Oh, listen, it's always nice to hear Olivier Renard talk because he's very transparent. He gives a lot. There's nothing that he really hides. I like that. We talked first of all about the trade that he made with the New York Red Bulls, where he acquired I think 100,000 in GAM or 150,000. 100,000. Yeah, exactly, for the 11th choice, and they got the 15th choice. And we asked him, what about that trade? How did they take that decision right away? And his answer was really interesting. He's like, you know what? We had quite a few players on our list left. So they had a whole list of players. And I love that. Again, I think that they did do their homework this year. It's the first time in MLS history, in the CFMTL history, that they have a list, I think. So and he said we had a lot of players, so why not? We decided to get that amount of money, and at the 15th spot we chose our player. So I like his transparency. He added quite a few things. He said that Quizera has had a tough life, and he likes these kinds of stories. He said that there's a lot of things that he said, and he's like, no, I wasn't, because we asked him, you chose two offensive players. was that the target? That was your list only, composed of offensive players? And it's like, no, I had everything on my list, but when we had to make a choice, those players are the ones that we chose.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and he did say that he had a list of, I think, 170 players to scout coming into the combine and the draft. But he also said that he had a pretty short list of players that they wanted to add to the team come draft day. So that's interesting because I mean, I don't think since we are in MLS, we've worked that hard on draft. So that just and the selection kind of proves it too because they went completely left field, like you said, Eddie. So it proves that there was some work that was put into the draft and to scouting these players. And he said that they had quality scouts now in the US helping them make their selection. So pretty interesting. Pretty interesting stuff. Eve, did something stick out to you from Olivier Renard's presser on that?
Nothing really that Hady didn't cover. In that, I liked as well the idea that he and Vasily and the team of behind recruitment had a short list ready of players. So they weren't just like drawing any out of a hat as it seemed they might have done some years. There was a plan A, plan B, and plan C. And not only that, Montreal obviously looked a little further than maybe a lot of the other clubs had done, because a lot of clubs did pick players whose names came up kind of over and over on a lot of mock draft lists and so on.
Yeah.
So it's, once again, Montreal does things in their own way, which is always, sometimes that works out well, sometimes it doesn't. But it's always interesting to see that they have a plan this time.
Yeah, and he added a few things also that I didn't cover yet, and I think that we need. I'm pretty sure you're gonna have things to say about them. That's for sure. The first one is I asked when we talked about the origins of Jujea and the origins of the second draftee too. Being Haitian and being Congolese, and I asked him. It was one of my questions, and I asked him, do you take that into consideration, like the origins, knowing that there is a big community in Montreal and everything? And his answer was like, you know what, not really. When we spoke with Jojea, we spoke in English. I didn't even know that he spoke French.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't know that. I find that quite interesting. I'm not really.
I would rather
impressed.
Yeah. No, I would much rather they focus on the quality of the player rather than the language that they speak. And like, I understand that Quebec, it's the language of life here is French. But in the context of a team, any team, whether it's the CFL team or the hockey team or Montreal, they have players of all sorts of nationalities and linguistic backgrounds. So for me, I would rather definitely, of course, help them with French to get by in life in Montreal, if they get signed. But number one should be the quality of the player.
Yeah, I agree. But it's if you have that extra bonus information, I think it would be interesting when you do your scouting. I don't know if you agree with me, Sam.
No, I don't.
No? You don't. I know you don't. You said it already.
No, a lot of people will say, at equal talent, you're gonna take the French speaking player, but I don't really believe in equal talent because everyone is so different in their way of playing. It doesn't take a lot of things in consideration, the equal talent type of of discussion. So I would always go with the best player available, and Olivier Renard kind of hinted at this during his presser because people ask him, did you go for needs or for quality?
Talent.
And he said, you know what, we went for quality more than needs because I think that the idea is you're gonna draft the best available player, and then if he doesn't fit in your needs, well, you have a good player on your hands. You can trade him. You can use him for other things, or maybe kind of transform his way of playing a bit like we saw in Mathieu Chouanière go from a center midfielder to a left back and stuff. So I think the idea that Olivier Renard kind of went after the best available players is the good one, because
Hmm.
when you go after needs, sometimes you leave some talent on the table, and finally your needs can change so quickly in the world of sports. Injuries, suspensions, whatever can happen. So best available player is kind of the safe route, in my opinion. So I hope it answers your question, Hadi. I know it wasn't
Oh
exactly that,
yeah,
but that's
it does. For me, everything has to be taken in consideration. Not only, yeah, talent is the first, is the number one on the list, but everything else is important. Any information that you can have, anything that can facilitate the integration of someone, I think is important. And that's why for me, it's important to have the information, as an extra tool, right?
sure.
Either for the integration or for anything. I think it's weird when you scout a player that you don't have the information. Now, the second thing that he said, and I wanted also your input regarding that. He said there's still place on the salary under the salary cap.
Hmm.
Yes, and he said yes, there is. We are able to go and bring a young DP, but we can also take players under the cap, under the 612,000. And he also said the young players like Keyshawn Ferdinand, Jean-Yen Lassie, Nathan Saliba, and Sean Rea are not right now registered on the roster.
Yeah.
So they do have a flexibility within the roster. I went ahead and spoke with the club to get a bit more clarity, and I was told there's right now 4 spots available. So all those players are going to fight for those 4 spots that are still available on the roster. So what do you think about that? Do you think that Renard put too much pressure on those young guys, saying, putting them out there, saying that you don't have a place right now in front of the public, instead of giving them a bit of relief and not social pressure that much? I don't know. What do you think about that, Eve? I'm sure you're gonna say no, it's okay.
Well, I would assume it doesn't come as a complete surprise to the players. I would assume that they're aware of their status on the
Of
roster.
course, of course, but it's
So
public. It's public now.
yeah, well, it
Yeah,
was
no,
going
it
to be
is. Yeah,
no, well, it was going to become public either now or a month from now when everything gets published and updated on on the various websites. So as well, I'm sure several of these players they've already targeted either to loan out for the first time or to loan out again. Um, players who perhaps still have a little bit more development time in them, or players they want to make sure have as many competitive minutes as they can get this season, which they won't get if they're on the roster with the senior squad and just traveling on the bench with them. So for me, I don't see it as a bad thing. All anyone really talks about in sporting contexts is that competition is important, competition is important, competition is important, and healthy within a group. They're all very different players vying for very different positions, and they all have different qualities that they can bring to the team. So no, I don't see anything super horrible about it. Not really. And I
Wow.
appreciate the transparency of it as well.
yeah.
You're
That's
tough, man. You're
no,
tough,
but that's
man.
that's exactly my point, and
Thank
that's the
you.
price. That's the price to pay for transparency, I guess. But don't forget, these players. It's not the first time they've been in competition and they don't have their spot guaranteed. They've been living that since they're young. It's the
They're
life of a.
babies still, most of those
They are
guys.
still, but they've been living these situations, not at the pro level though, but at the amateur level, they've been living these situations since they've been playing, almost, because you're always playing at the highest level available. So of course, it's limited spots, is always going against players that are as good, sometimes better, sometimes not far off from you. So it's competition within, but
Hmm.
that's where you grow. If these players are not put under some pressure and under the stress of every day you have to go to camp and perform. I mean, they that they won't grow as much, and I think it's important. Maybe Renault, I don't think it was directly a message what he did. He kind of maybe like dropped it unknowingly, but it became kind of a message if you read it like that. But these players knew it already, I'm sure, and it's not a surprise for them that there's not a lot of spots for a lot of these young kids. So yeah, it's the the best man will win, and you'll see who's serious, who will really
Hmm.
take preseason camp as the final almost.
Mhm.
That's how you get into the team when you're younger.
I feel that you're too tough on those guys. You know
That's
what?
because
For
you're a
me,
dad. Your son's a
no,
little
but it's not because of
baby.
that. No, it's not because of that, guys.
No.
It's players that are right now 18, 19, 20,
Mm.
haven't seen professional soccer. Not all of them. Ferdinand and Rhea did see professional soccer last year with the CanPL. Putting pressure right now on them when the training camp hasn't really started yet. It was right after the draft, so it was maybe a day into
Mhm.
training camp. I think it was a bit too early. I understand if you do that in a couple of weeks or 3 weeks, at least to get them, prepared a bit mentally, saying that, you're fighting for a spot, but now everything is public. So you don't have already the pressure of that you put on yourself, where you have to compete and get that roster spot, but you also have public pressure from all around social media on you, people talking about you. And Sean Rea is on Twitter, so I'm pretty sure that he does look at everything that's going on. A lot of their parents, they're everybody's there. So now we're discussing it. We're discussing this topic right now, and I'm sure that if they listen to us, they're going to feel that pressure 10 times
Yeah.
more than if Olivier Renard hadn't talked about it. I think it was a bit too much. Now, again, some people need that extra pressure in order to perform. Some players need that. And it might be a good thing for some players. It might be a bad thing for others. So I think, I don't know. I'm not the kind of guy that like to put too much pressure on the young guns. I like them to play for sure, but not too much pressure publicly. Second thing, what do you think about the space on the rosters on the under the salary cap? Young DP, other
I'll believe it when
veterans.
I see it.
I asked him about the fact that Montreal lost a lot of experienced players with
Mhm.
with Camacho, with Struna, and I told him, "Are you looking for an experienced player to replace them? Someone that has a bit of oomph in their career?" And his answer was like, "I'm not specially looking for that." And then he had a pause, and he's like, "Hmm." And there might be inexperienced players that will join us in the next few days. What do
Yeah,
you
Dot
think
dot
about
dot.
that?
he didn't say that out of the blue, eh?
Yeah.
There was something
Again,
behind it.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Well,
Pessimistic Eve. Pessimistic Eve. Always here.
Pessimistic
Always
Eve
here.
strikes again. Yeah, sorry.
You have Debbie Downer, you have Pessimistic Eve, right? So
Well, we'll have to get an alliteration word to go with pessimistic.
but
go.
but it's
Yeah.
interesting that he said that. The good thing is that there's still a lot of space open, um,
Hmm.
and I think we'll talk about this a lot when we'll get to Gaetan Bong's rumor,
Yeah.
because it's kind of together. But I wouldn't be surprised, with all the sounds that are coming left and right, that probably there is going to be an experienced player coming in. And it's a lot of people would say it's going against Olivier Renard's way of thinking, but we didn't see much of Olivier Renard yet. He's still very, it's been a couple of years he's been in Montreal. So I mean, I think that going young all the time, it's not, you need these
You
experienced
need a
players at some
balance.
point. Exactly, you need that balance, and maybe that's what's going to happen. But we'll talk about it a bit
Hmm.
more later with Gaetan Bong's
But you know what?
rumor.
Renard did prove that he's able to get experienced players, right? So
Of
Roman
course,
Kyoto, he got
Victor Wanyama.
with Victor Wanyama, he also
Yeah.
got Struna, right? So
Yep.
Hmm.
those are experienced players. So yes, most of his signatures are young players, but he's able to get experienced players, and he did. And you
Do I
talked
need to
about Wanyama.
remind you one of the experienced players he brought in?
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah, please do. No, don't. Please don't.
No, exactly. You want to see Pessimistic Eve come out? Oh boy.
There's so many good things. We just named like 4 players that did something good, and she goes away and brings the only experienced players that didn't do good. You know.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You know what? I'm gonna. I'll keep drinking my beer and I'll see if it goes down.
I like the comment of Chan, who just interacted with us, and he said just another depth player. Yeah, that's the Olivier Renard way, right? You need depth. I doubt he's not the kind of guy that's gonna come and bring only stars within the team. That's not the way he's built. I don't know if you agree with that, guys. And
Yeah,
it's a pity, yes, but it's the way he works.
No, I
Yeah,
know. I know. I'm like, I know. It sucks.
but I think Chan is referencing to Gaetan Bong, and maybe we should go right into that
Yeah.
rumor. Let's
Sure.
use that to segue through the rumor. Um, the our friends at CanFC probably, I think they were the first one to report it, that there was interest by Montreal towards Gaetan Bong, who plays for Nottingham Forest in the Championship in England. Just a quick profile of Gaetan Bong. He's a 33-year-old Cameroonian left back. He's listed at 6 foot tall, 33 years old. He's under contract with Nottingham Forest until the end of June 2022. So one must think that if he does come to Montreal, he could come on a free in the summer, or if there's an arrangement for him to terminate his contract before, he could jump into Montreal for the start of the season. He was reportedly spotted in Montreal this week. There was, I think, a story on his Instagram page too, that a picture in Montreal and hinting about, I guess about a potential transfer. But interestingly enough, he was on the bench for Nottingham Forest, that 1-0 win away to Millwall on Saturday. So, guys, just a quick thought about Gaetan Bong's transfer if he does make the move to Montreal.
It doesn't excite me. Okay, number one, I only have room for one Cameroonian left back in my heart, and that spot's already occupied by Ambroise Yongo. So number one story, like he's already coming in, not in good standing in my eyes.
All Cameroonian guys that are single are just out.
No. Cameroonian left back. Cameroonian left back. Like, oh yeah, no. There's only one. But honestly, I mean, it doesn't. I can understand, like, if he were to come in on a free, okay, but he's 33 years old right now. I actually recall saying on this podcast probably several times towards the end of the season and in the interim that an experienced left field player, if you will, would be really good to have for the developing players, whether it's Zoran Bassong, whether Mathieu Choignard continues to develop in that role, what have you. So I kind of feel like a jerk being like, this doesn't excite me at all. But he's very clearly on the decline. I do recall him when he played for Brighton,
Yes.
when they came up to the Premier League. He was, generally speaking, for at least the first couple of years, almost a guaranteed starter in their squad, but he's obviously in the twilight of his career. So I don't know if he'd be coming super motivated. I don't know. I don't have a good feeling about it.
You know what? I don't like to judge, players on their age, because we all remember Rod Fanny, and a lot of people saying
I
that
love
when he came,
Rod Fanny.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
Fantastic.
a lot of people saying, he's washed up, he's gone, he's not going to perform. And you know what? He was one of our best, if not our best, central defenders for a couple of years. So even at 38, he was still our best central defender.
Oh, and like Patrice Garnier, he could have kept going, I think, for like 3 or 4 more years.
Yeah. Now, what's nice though, I just want to tell you a bit about Gaetan Bong. Gaetan Bong is a player that I've known for a while. I've known him in Valenciennes. He used to be a left back in Valenciennes, and I watch a lot of Ligue 1, as you guys know, and
Mhm.
I always look for the players that are playing outside of Marseille to see who we can go and grab as a rotation player or as a squad player in Marseille. And I always wanted Gaëtan Bong to play on the left, and I really wanted him to come and play on the left. But unfortunately, Gaëtan Bong decided something else, and he went to Olympiacos. He was a very good left back in Olympiacos in Greece also. And afterwards, to be honest, when he went to England, I completely lost trace of him. I haven't
That's okay.
watched him
Then
since then.
we caught up.
No, because it doesn't really excite me to go watch games in Wigan and Brighton. So that's me, right? So
Yeah.
I do watch a few games of English Premier League, but I'm not gonna go watch a game between Brighton and Watford. Not my cup of tea, right? So yeah, but Gaëtan Bong was really good. Now, what's nice about it, Vasily Keranzidis said something, and he said that he's the type of player that can fit into the mold and of what they're looking for. Someone that can play in central defense and can play as a wing back.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting that Manzidis did talk about him in a way, and also spotted and explained that he's going to be able to play in two different positions, a bit like Alistair Johnston. Does it excite me? No, it doesn't at all, because I don't want to go and get a foreign player that's 33, 34, that's on the decline, like Yves said, and give him top dollars. I don't want to see that. Just go bring a player that's like 28, 29. Yes, okay, I agree. But at 33, 34, give him, I'm pretty sure he's going to be a top player.
Okay.
I don't want that.
Just to be clear, because, we talked about Rod Fanny being phenomenal, right? But center back is a way different, particularly if we continue to play with a wing back system. I mean, that's a lot of up and down the field to ask of a player,
I agree.
More than a central defender.
Yeah.
And to be fair, Bakary Sagna came over at a similar age, but it was a right back and a back four.
And you have Sagna.
And yes.
And it's still Bakary Sagna.
I'm comparing apples to oranges a little bit for sure. But nonetheless,
apples to watermelons.
Is watermelon your favorite? No, but it's a demanding position, if that's the position that Wilfried Nancy chooses to go with. And I definitely agree with you, Hady. When I said I would like to see an experienced player arrive in that position, I meant sort of a player who could maybe be a little bit, probably part of the project for a little bit longer.
Yeah.
This topic was really hot on Twitter, and we've got hit up a lot. Justin Shepard, Roberto Turinardi, Grumpy Old Man, they all wrote to us and wanted our opinion, And Chan just wrote up to us too, and he says Bong will help, but I'm surprised we cannot find one USA Canada player and waste an international spot.
Also that.
Yeah. I'll just read what Justin, Roberto, and Grumpy Old Man wrote to us. Justin, he said that he was a little underwhelmed by a soon-to-be 34-year-old squad player from a mid-table championship side.
And quick time out here, because we were all super pumped about Richie Laryea moving over to Nottingham Forest last week.
Yeah.
So to be clear, you can't be excited in one context and then be like, oh well, that sucks in another.
But I'll explain why I think it's an interesting move. I'm not saying it's going to be a team-changing move, but I do see it in a positive way. I'll finish up reading the tweets that we got, and I'll give my little take on that. Roberto pointed that in the comments he read from the Nottingham Forest fan base that was not very flattering towards him. I read them too, and nothing to get excited about, really not. And what I think is, right now, if you look at our kind of depth chart, if we want, in pretty much every position we have leadership and experience, right? Up front we've got Kyoto. In the middle, we've got Wanyama and Piet. At center back, we've got Johnston and Miller, who are young but have such a presence, leadership stuff. At wing back, we don't. at all. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
and this is
agree.
a position that, unless we completely change our system and our way of thinking, um, is very, very important for the team. And do we have talent at this position? Absolutely. You know, Chouanier, Zachary Bourguignon, and Zoran Basson have talent, but they're so raw and
Alistair too.
inexperienced.
Don't forget
Alistair
Alistair.
too,
Yeah.
yeah, but you know, it's a
He's
bit
young.
of a different because he can move, but don't ask Zachary Bourguignon to play right center back. You know
No.
that's what I mean. You know, locked into
Mm.
these positions are these players, and you know, I think that to help them in you know their development, you need that experience. You know, Gaetan Bong has Premier League, Champions League, Championship playoffs, Ligue 1, international experience. Yes, he's at the tail end of his career, but I'm positive that he can help these young, very talented but raw players become better. So it's I know it's an international spot. I know it's money, but you know that experience you can't buy it. You know it's very, very important. And I'm with Felipe Silva. I said let's give him a chance and see what he can do in 2022. I'm pretty sure he's talking about Gaetan Bong. So I'm not against the move. I'm not against the move. If it didn't make sense at all, we wouldn't even have heard it. So there must be something good in that.
Yeah, no, I agree with Felipe also. Like, if he signs, because he's not signed yet, right? If he signs, yeah, we're gonna give him a chance. At TBIR here, we always give a chance to players, even if we do critique them if they have to be critiqued, and we do applaud them if they have to be applauded, right? So,
Like, to
but
be fair, I was super excited about some players who did not pan out. So, it comes and goes.
everybody was excited about some players that did not pan out, right? But
Yeah.
we're still gonna give them a chance. The players that we cannot name on this podcast. No, I'm joking. No, but like we are gonna give them a chance if they do sign. But yeah, I'm kind of on the fence on this one because it's a player that I liked, but not really excited about it either. So we'll see. We'll see if it happens.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but I think that's I think that experience is the main driver in that move, and you need that depth too, because like we said a lot, when our depth was tested, oh, it wasn't good last year, So these
That was a rough Gold Cup season.
wow, and it's probably in these games, that when depth was tested, that we lost our playoff spot, and we grinded some horrible performances in the Canadian Championship to get to the final, and we got to the final against Toronto with our full squad, and we just march over Toronto, So it's the proof that depth is very, very important, and you can't say no to these guys. I think so. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting.
Yeah,
Um,
it's gonna be interesting, but don't forget you're talking about depth. Don't forget that we have an extra competition to play this year with with the Champions League. So depth is gonna be that much more important. So
I would then say a super quality addition, because we are facing none other than Santos Laguna. I would say a super quality addition is that much more important because Montreal is in the Champions League, and we all know how desperate everybody is to A, vanquish the ghost of Santos Laguna, and B, become the very first MLS club to ever win Champions League. So it's going to take a super quality addition, not just an experienced rotation player.
Yeah, I agree.
Hint, hint, Olivier.
Nothing on the radar yet, though. That's a disappointment.
So guys, if you don't know, I'm gonna give you a scoop. We already know who's gonna be the next president of CF Montreal. It's gonna be Yves Powell.
Eddie, don't do that, man.
I love it. You see Eve and Samuel like, what the hell is he gonna say?
Don't do that, man.
Hady, jeez, Louise.
Oh. Yes, we'll go.
They could not handle an Yves Powell presidency. Believe me, I would be in and out that door so fast.
Guys, we'll just finish off on Olivier Renard's presser before moving on. Gavino De Falco asked Renard during that presser the reasoning in holding the training camp at the Olympic Stadium, given the surface is likely to increase the risk of injuries. Renard explained that the whole idea of staying longer in Montreal was to limit the risks of players catching COVID and having to isolate, because, like he said, it was almost guaranteed that players would catch COVID traveling a
Mhm.
lot. So I didn't really answer the question on why the Olympic Stadium, but my guess is that anyways we're gonna play there in the Champions League, so might as well accommodate to the surface before playing there.
Well,
Um,
let me tell you, that is a way to test whether or not a player is going to make it in Montreal. Can they tolerate training like more than one time on Olympic Stadium turf? Like poor Victor Wanyama with his no knee ligaments left,
yeah.
He must be
But
like, oh God.
but you know what? A lot of people, ask me, why not at Marie Victorin, where they did, the preseason
Yeah.
last year and everything. It's much more accessible to be at Olympic Stadium. It's far, Marie Victorin. It's really far, So,
And I
so
mean, it's right by the
I
Stade de
kind of
Trudeau
understand.
offices.
Yeah, and I can understand why they chose that. And don't forget that we are going to play a lot more games at Olympic Stadium this year than last
Well,
year, because we do have Champions League this year. So, let the players adapt to that surface. I kind of like the decision to play a bit more and to
yeah.
train on the Olympic Stadium surface. And don't forget that we don't have a lot of experienced players anymore, so
No.
maybe that helps us a bit from that point of view too.
They must think like when a player is new to Montreal, they must think this is some sort of initiation challenge. But hey, they might be able to get out of it because Montreal's supposed to get a lot of snow tomorrow, and as we know, the Olympic Stadium is allergic to snow, so they might be able to get to train somewhere else on Tuesday if they're lucky. They better wear their PJ pants inside out and backwards tonight.
Oh, well. Guys, just to continue on Olivier Renaud quickly, there was some unfortunate news coming out of Belgium is that Olivier Renaud was named among the 57
57.
names linked to corruption in what is now called the Belgian Footgate. There had been rumors that he had been cleared previously of any wrongdoing, but now his case is set to go to court in Belgium, and his name is effectively on that list. This Belgium Footgate is a it's a mess. It's so
Yeah.
complicated and a lot of you know a, a lot of different stories coming left and right. It's difficult to really understand exactly what it is, but what we know is that on that list there's a bunch of name, coaches, administrators, referees. It looked like a pretty organized system out there, and unfortunately, our technical director is on that list. Guys, Adi, do you have a bit more information on that
Yeah,
saga in Belgium?
I do. So the Footgate, that's how it's called right now. Yeah, there's a lot of things that are related to the Footgate. It's not only a lot of people thought that it was only transfers, and it's not only transfers. There
Oh
are
no.
some fixed games also that
Mhm.
happened. Also, there's a lot of things, a lot of people that have been involved into that scandal, right? In the case of Olivier Renard and Bruno Venenzi, who's also from the Standard Liège, uh, they are believed to have committed fraud when they did the contract of the former coach Alexander Yankovic. So that's exactly what the problem that they have right now. Now I did see a bit of Olivier Renard. He did one moment, give an answer saying, you know what, I have no knowledge of that. Everything that happened at Standard used to go through Bruno Venenzi and nobody else. So he's a bit throwing him under the bus. So I don't know what's going on. We're gonna know a lot more information on the 27th of January, where this dossier is gonna go into the the next step, the chamber of accusation. I'm not sure. I'm not really into Belgian politics, but to the next step of the whole thing.
Yeah, like personally, the way I look at it is it'll all come out in court. And if it's true that Olivier Renard had no knowledge and that he's completely innocent in all of this, then it should easily be proven, or, the accusations should be disproven, as it were. So from personally, like, my perspective is just wait and see. But it would be very Montreal-esque to finally sign what they're like their first proper sporting director ever, only to have to let him go so that he can go face consequences from his previous job. That would be so Montreal-esque, it's not even funny. But let's let the Belgian court see what happens, and it'll all come out in the wash.
But so my question is, guys, what would this mean for Montreal if Olivier Renard is formally accused of corruption back in Belgium?
You can't keep him. I'm sorry.
Yeah. What a shame. Hady.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to keep him if it happens. But you know what? It's going to be like, if he has to go and face the justice, face if something happens, he has to go back, maybe go to prison, like he cannot keep his place, So to be honest, looking at all, I did do quite a bit of research on it. I doubt that Olivier Renard will get much, even if he's proved, guilty, which I'm not really sure about that because I don't know. I'm not that good, but I don't think he's going to be very, affected by the whole thing. But we'll see. We'll have to wait and see. I'm pretty sure that it's going to unsettle him and maybe unsettle CF Montreal. What I really don't like right now, to be honest with you guys, is that this is happening with the club not having a president. It bothers me. It really bothers me.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's terrible timing, to say the least. And, there's a lot of, obviously, like, it's very important for the team to have a president if they're going to continue going on down that road of that hierarchy in the leadership. So yeah, this would just be another problem, sort of, with that gaping hole staring at it.
Yeah. Oh man. So the 27th of January is the court date. So that's, man, it's gonna be an anxious times until it happens. But
so like I say, like, Olivier Renard should just be like YOLO and sign a super spicy DP. And then peace out to Belgium to face the consequences, because you won't have to face the wrath of Joey Saputo.
Oh, well. So if anyone in CF Montreal is listening, Eve has the greatest.
I have all sorts of ideas.
Guys, anything to add on that subject of Olivier Renard?
No, but we're gonna follow it, of course.
Yeah,
Here at TBR, so we're gonna follow it. I'm happy at least the court date is not in the middle of the season. At least it's gonna be during preseason, so maybe we'll hopefully we'll get an answer before the season starts. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll hope so, man. We'll hope so. Two little points before moving on to the Canadian men's national team. Training camp is underway. We've seen the videos coming out of Montreal's Instagram, Twitter accounts. Spirit seems to be very high at training camp. We've seen the images posted by the club. It's really cool to see the players back. Everyone's smiling. Everyone seems to be having a good time. And they showed that traumatic beep test for everyone who's been through that. It's that's the joys of preseason. Guys, what do you think about training camp so far at the moment? We don't have much info, but so far so good, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's only so much that you can tell, especially because press access is really limited with restrictions in Quebec being what they are. So, and as well, even for the members of the press who can be there, unfortunately, like, they're watching it kind of almost like with a bird's eye view, really far away in the stands. But overall, I mean, the first few days I think are usually what they are. They're your general getting to know you and your fitness tests. So I think really give it a couple of weeks before judging much about preseason.
Yeah, and you know what? Unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to go to the training yet. A lot of things happening here, so didn't have a chance to go to the training camp. I really wanted to go on Monday, but there's no training session on Monday, so I'm like, ah. So I'm gonna have to find another day where I'm able to go. But maybe next Saturday, and I'll give you a few info if I do go there. But yeah, training camp is pretty nice usually because you go and you see a bit of the players. Right now, as you said, we don't have a lot of information, but I'm curious to go and see a bit how the draftees play, how the young guns that we talk about
Yeah.
are playing under that pressure that we talked about also. So I'm excited. I'm excited to go, and I hope that we're gonna have we're gonna see those guys really develop and get better, and maybe grab a spot.
Yeah, most definitely. But one thing that you had access, Eddie, and you were at Wilfred Nancy's presser this weekend. There was a lot of interesting information that came out of it. Can you talk to us about it a bit?
Can I talk about what?
About the presser where you were, in fact.
Well, with Nancy, yeah, it
Yes.
was really nice. Listen, Wilfried Nancy, as usual, gives the information that he's able to give.
Yeah.
So sometimes, we do ask him questions about transfers and everything, and he keeps on repeating, guys, I'm only the coach. I'm not the one that goes and looks for players.
Yeah.
But we all know that usually it's a duo, right? It's Nancy that goes and say, you know what, I need two extra players, and Olivier Renard should go and grab those players, right?
Yeah.
And give him a list of profiles and going to the scouting requirements and everything. So, he does. I'm pretty sure he has some needs because we all know that the squad right now is not 100%. Like, we don't have a full squad right now. Like, for me, this is normal that we ask. It's normal that we ask him the questions about what are your needs right now. And for him, he didn't want to give a name. I did try a couple of angles in order for him to give me a few information. I asked him about if he's looking for more experienced players. He's like, I'm not looking for anyone. And then I'm like, okay, I've asked him, is there a specific position that you want to strengthen? It's like, I'm not looking for anyone. So, it was a bit hard.
Lies.
Exactly. Now, he also talked a lot about the young guns, saying that they're doing very well. He's happy about them in training. They're doing well. He did talk also about Alistair Johnston, and what I liked about what he said about Alistair Johnston is that he was very excited to come to Montreal, and he knows exactly how I want him to play. And he's like, and that was maybe the third day of the training camp, and he's like, Alistair Johnston has already put it into place. Like, he's already working on what I asked him to work on. And like right away, right off the bat, Alistair Johnston is trying to, do exactly what Wilfried Nancy is asking him. So I like that. Sometimes it takes a bit of time for players to really react and, get into what the coaches want. So that's pretty good. And he said something else that's very interesting, and I'm pretty sure that Sam is going to have a lot of things to say about the tactical disposition. And he's like, yes, I did use the tactical disposition with three center backs quite a lot last year. We weren't supposed to use it that much, but unfortunately we didn't have a choice at one point. But this year he's looking into having more options in the tactical sense, and on the pitch. So, what do you think about that, Sam? Are you someone that really likes to see, a lot of changes tactically, or are you someone that really likes to have one tactical disposition with different roles within that tactical disposition?
Well, it all depends on the squad that you have at hand, But what I felt last year is that quickly in the start of the seasons, the players really bought into that tactical system. They were very, very quick to accept it, to work through it, to manage to make it better. So that was good to see. But what I felt coming into the the dog days of the season at the end, when they were playing twice a week, and with a lot of traveling, is we were just becoming more and more predictable. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's where we would have needed maybe a plan B tactically. And I'm not saying that every game we set up the same. There were changes. Sometimes we would press, and that created a whole debate on Twitter. I'm not going into that, but sometimes we would press with two players up front, sometimes with three, sometimes we would go out through the wing, sometimes we would use a bit more the middle of the park. But I mean, the disposition was always pretty similar. The ideas were different. I think that we could have used maybe another system, um, with different ideas, just to be much less predictable. So I can't say that I prefer one or the other. I watched Ferguson play 4-4-2 for 15 years. I'm not saying everybody should do that. You should go through what you have at hand as players. But one thing for sure is that I think that the system that Nasi used last year proved to be a good one. I think. I know not everyone's with that. I think it was good. Now I think that to make it even better, we need another system that we can walk through, and get just be less predictable. And I think that hurt us at the end of the year. And we talked about it so much on this show. The ball is around. We were saying, man, we would use just a back four sometimes, and get the ball through the middle of the park where you have talented players, and Hamdi is there, and Mihailovic is there, Wanyama is there. Use them. And so I'm happy that Nasi kind of hinted that there would be some new tactical ideas.
Ideas.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I really liked it. But I'm not against starting again with that, with what we finished last year. But I'd be happy to see maybe more pages in the book, in which when things are not going too well, you'll be able to turn around and have a different point of view.
Yeah, and Eve, as you can see, Sébastien Grenier said you have to be able to change tactic depending
Yes.
on who you're facing. So, Eve, I'm pretty sure you're okay with that and you agree with that.
Yes. Yes. I think I've said that multiple times. Like, come on. I mean, how many? There were several matches where where the opposition would set up in virtually the exact same
Yes.
lineup, like the
Oh
exact same
yes.
positioning as Montreal, and I mean, it was painful to watch. So Montreal wound up losing, I believe, all of the games where that occurred, if I'm not mistaken. There were not very many points taken one way or the other. So it was, yeah, absolutely. Definitely need to see a lot more flexibility. Like, I can understand why Wilfred Nancy might have even gotten sucked into using that a little bit, because Kamal Miller shines so much, because Rudy Camacho shines so much in that role. But we also talked about amongst ourselves, especially at the end of the season when we kind of went over like each player, how ineffective the wingbacks were. And in that three center back system, your wingbacks, you know, generally speaking, they've got to be a lot more productive. So I am all for some new ideas, even though I'm sure John Herdman would love Kamal Miller to be staying in the left position of a 3-man defense.
And just to go with what you said, Eve, I think last year when the opposition teams would match our, would play a back five
Mm-hmm.
like we did, and would match man to man their wingbacks with our wingbacks, we became even more predictable, and these games were difficult to watch. So maybe when these players are given tasks, and are are drawn into following certain players, if we can present a different tactical system, we can maybe bait them into making tactical mistakes at the start of the
Mm-hmm.
game and exploit these spaces. But this is something that we didn't really do last year. And when we did kind of decide that, what, when we were gonna be matched, we would use like a different kind of style if we want. We saw it against Toronto. Toronto tried to match our wingbacks, and we just drove through them to the center of the pitch. That was cool. And the same system, different ideas. Now, if we can have different system, different ideas, we have even more on our hands. So I wouldn't be against it. I think Nasi knows. He's a very very intelligent coach. He's been doing that for a very long time. Not professionally, but he's been coaching forever. He
Mhm.
knows that you need to show different looks, and I'm sure that we'll start the season, and maybe we'll start with the same system, but we'll have something else, in our back pocket for these type of games.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? I think you have to start the season with what you already learned and what you already
What's
acknowledge.
familiar?
And exactly, so like start with what you know right now, and then yeah, of course you can evolve afterwards. But we'll have to wait and see. I'm a bit worried about the lack of experience in the back three, to be honest. And that's why I asked a lot of questions within those pressers for Nancy and for Renard, and they don't seem to be very very worried, as worried as me. So let's hope it all works.
Mhm.
I will see, man. They're the ones who are daily with the team and following what's up. So that's you have to trust them. But yeah, it's our defenses. The good news with our defense is that our young players don't look like young players. Kamal Miller. You look at him play. He doesn't look like someone his age. He looks like 5 years older. Alistair Johnson is the same thing. So I think that kind of plays into the equation too.
Yeah, there's one last thing that I wanted to say about Nancy's presser, because I think that's the big bomb that he threw, in my opinion, within that presser. And I don't remember who asked him about the offensive players that he has, if he needs to add more quality up front, in the striker's
I'm
position.
already rolling my eyes here. But go ahead.
And his answer was like, as true strikers, I already have Kyoto and Toy. He also said a bit earlier, we do have already two new players with Romel Kyoto and Mason Toy, because they were injured last year. So
Bro!
he's like, as pure strikers, we have Romel Kyoto and Mason Toy, and he didn't say anything about Bjorn Johnson. What do you guys think about, first of all, his answer saying that it's two new players that he's getting with Kyoto and Toy, and the second answer, the second non-answer, that he didn't give Johnson's name when he talked about pure strikers? Eve, I'm curious. Does that
Okay,
mean that Johnson
so
is leaving?
number one, obviously that means that Montreal would be buying out Johnson's contract, I assume, because I would be shocked to find another club willing to take Johnson on a $1 million plus a year salary. So, but I could also awkwardly see why he missed it, because from what we know, Bjorn Johnson is currently in MLS COVID protocol, so he's not allowed to attend training, but he's in Montreal, from what we know. So logic dictates he should probably make an appearance next week. If he doesn't make an appearance next week at training, then certainly that non-statement may be more significant. However, I think Bjorn Johnson will finish out his contract in Montreal, because I don't see Montreal wanting to pay $1 million, like probably close to $1 million out of pocket to send him on his way. I don't see another club willing to take on a similar contract with him. So I think he's probably still kicking around, and poor Bjorn, even Wilfred Nancy forgot about him. And as well, I mean, he wasn't at training, right? So perhaps he was somehow just referring to players who he had seen that day. Anyway, on to the part about Toy and Kyoto being new acquisitions. That's like, I'm sorry, that's BS. That's like that's among the dumbest things I've heard come out of Wilfred Nancy's mouth. I'm really sorry, but that's ludicrous. Toy and Kyoto, they essentially each played about half the season last season. So
Well, Mason Toy played maybe 10 games. I don't have the number. I can
no,
look
I
it
don't
up
have
if
the I
you
don't
want
have
to,
the
but
exact number either, but I feel like no, you're right because he was injured for a little bit. You're right though. He was injured for a little bit earlier on in the season. I forgot about the part where he was injured early on in the season. I apologize.
no, it's okay.
But
I'm checking because I'm not really sure. Yeah, 14 games. So
okay,
like,
17 is half the season, so we're pretty close.
yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah. So
No, but sorry, yeah, 14 games. Yeah, he was. Yeah, he was like. Yeah, there's
he
like
was
three.
there.
Yeah, but there was like 3 games where because he had the first injury, then he came back, then he
Yeah.
has the second injury, right?
Yep.
So there's like 3 games where he was not like he was playing like out of the bench. So yeah, if you want to,
He was there though. I mean, with the group, he was training with the group
I agree.
like when he so and as for Ramel Kyoto, he played quite a few games last season, more certainly than Mason Toy, I believe. Don't quote me on that though, because I did not look up the stats because that would have been too smart for me. But Hady, you're gonna do me a solid and look it up, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. That's what I'm doing.
We
He
all
played
know
19 games.
19. There we go. And 19 is definitely half the season. So if you add them both up together, it's basically half a season each.
Yeah, but when you have the two of them together, you have both of them playing 34 games.
Yeah. But
there's quite a bit of difference, right?
Is Nazi tactic going to allow for both of those players to be on the pitch together at the same time?
They were at the beginning of the season. They were both.
Oh, we just talked about the need for tactical flexibility and changes. So anyway, no, I'm sorry. Don't try to sell me.
Eve is mad, guys. Eve is mad.
No, do not try to sell me that 2 players who we saw last season and one of whom we also saw in 2020 are quote unquote new acquisitions.
I'm just being the devil's advocate. I'm just being devil's advocate.
But
that's
I do
all.
agree that they did not play together very much last season. I completely 100% agree on that. I completely agree. But for me, no. No, yeah. I'm sorry. I was so pissed off by that comment.
No, that's a bit of a politician's answer. I didn't really like it either, but Nasi's such a he thinks a lot before he talks, right? So I mean that very political answer is a big contrast to him saying, that nothing about Johnson. So that's what I'm wondering is, I don't think Nasi's
like a Freudian slip.
Yeah, just forgot about it. That's not in his what that's not what he used it. Habituated us to. So nah, I mean that's weird for Janssen. I can't say what's up with that, but I'm kind of surprised that it came out like that, really, because the other answer he gave, the new acquisitions of Toy and Kyoto, that's like splitting hairs in 3, but man, Johnson, that's weird, man.
I like Sebastian's comment talking about depth up front, and we talked about it a bit earlier in the show. I don't know if you were already connected, Sebastian, but yeah, there is a lack of depth. But don't forget, you have Ibrahim. That he wasn't really named because he's not a pure striker, so I can understand because he can play on the left, he can play on the right.
Striker either.
Yeah, but he's been a pure striker since he joined
Montreal.
Right?
Oh, I completely agree.
So maybe that's he sees him as a striker. But you do have Ibrahim, you do have Lassi Lapalainen that I'm pretty sure he's going to play up front. And had an extension for like 3 years, and we did talk also about the draftees also that could be depth. So we'll see about that. It's not enough, I agree. And of course there is Johnson, because as of today, Bjorn Johnson is still in the squad, so he is an option for Wilfried Nancy. We'll see about that.
Yeah, we'll see, man. That was an interesting presser. A lot to scratch our head around it, but I continue to think that there's no mistake in that presser.
I don't know. We'll see.
It's not his type, Nancy, man. He didn't get us used to that, so it's kind of interesting, man.
No, that's the thing. Like Nancy hasn't set a lot out of place But then I would be shocked if he divulged something like that by accident, by a slip of the tongue, because he's not really said any faux pas previously. Anyway.
Yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's it for Nancy's Press. We'll move on to the Canadian national team. Big news coming out of the national team. Alfonso Davies is out with myocarditis. He will miss the next international window. Just a quick little word on myocarditis to explain it to we can start by separating the word myocard, heart muscle, and itis, which means inflammation. So it's basically inflammation of the heart muscle. And in case of COVID-19 virus, a lot of it's been a common a complication that has came up with that pro-inflammatory cytokine storm and stuff. We'll not go too deep into it, but Julian Nangos, man, came out just a few hours ago to confirm that Alfonso Davies is expected to miss a total of 4 weeks, which is great news, knowing that a bad case of myocarditis can have really disastrous outcome, guys. Chan, our friend Chan, asked us with Davies' injury, next 3 games, how many points do you expect from Canada? And we had a couple of answers. Alain says 4, Chan hopes for 5, and Smoke City FC goes for a perfect sheet and 9 points. Guys, before we go into the points and stuff, I want to hear you on just what it means for Canada losing Alfonso Davies for these 3 crucial games coming.
For me, it's obviously a massive loss to Canada, and I'm sure American soccer fans are just like giggling with glee, knowing he won't be there. But it's obviously the number one thing is that he makes a full recovery from this and prioritizes his health over everything. Absolutely 100%. And it's, a reminder that athletes are human, and they are people, and they need to be taken care of, and they need time to take care of themselves sometimes. So it's understandable. Of course, I'm so disappointed to have a window without Alfonso Davies. However, he also missed several other important matches for Canada this past year. Whether he got called back early by Bayern Munich or wasn't released by Bayern Munich, whatever it was, or he had a little bit of an injury problem. And Canada survived those matches. We know this is a really united squad. It's a squad that's really in sync, that's willing to really die on the field for each other. So I'm not concerned necessarily. I'm disappointed, of course, that we won't be treated to Alfonso Davies lighting up the left-hand side of the field. But at the end of the day, it's understandable. It is what it is in these times we live in.
Yeah, of course, it's really unfortunate. Now, I'm very happy because, the first comments that I've seen from Bayern Munich was that he's going to be out indefinitely. So not only 4 weeks, but it might be longer. Maybe they corrected it afterwards, saying that it's going to be 4 weeks. I really hope so, because, that could be really damaging, not only for all the Bayern Munich fan, but of course for the Canadian national team fans and for all football lovers, right? For all soccer lovers, because he's one of the best, if not the best, left back in the world right now, or one of the best, right? So I hope that we're going to see a bit more of him in the future. Now, what I'm interested to see is how Herdman is gonna work around that, because at one point we discussed it here on The Ball Is Round. Herdman's tactics were all about Alfonso Davies playing on the left, then switching him on the right, then switching him in the middle. And that was the extent of the tactics of Herdman at one point. So I hope that we're going to see a bit more of John Herdman, putting other players into better positions and asking them and showing them a bit more and show a bit of the collective, the squad as a team and not only as one player. So I think that's going to be a good thing if John Herdman is able to find some sort of way of keeping everybody involved. And guys, don't forget about something. Don't forget
Sam
about something.
Adekugbe had a hell of a window last window.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
but I wanted to talk about something else, guys.
Oh,
We
even
do
something
have
else? Okay.
we do have Jonathan David
Mhm.
that's gonna be here. He's the
Mhm.
best goal scorer in League One, a league where you have Kylian Mbappe, Lionel Messi, Neymar, Wissam Ben Yedder. I can name quite a few very good, very, very, very good offensive players. And Jonathan David is up there, the best goal scorer in League One. And even if you remove the penalties, the 2 penalties that he scored, he's still number one. So, yes, it's unfortunate that Alfonso Davies is not here, but we do have a lot of quality in that team. We talked about Jonathan David, but you have quite a few other players that are very good, and we have our very own Sir Johnston, Kamal Miller that are very good at the back. We do have Atiba Hutchinson that
Oh
should
my
be
God.
back. You do have a Steven Eustachio that's been
Hady.
amazing with the Canadian national team. Yes.
Hady, they're all lovely. Come on.
Huh?
Come on. They're all lovely. They're all wonderful players. But let's be honest, the talisman is Alfonso Davies.
I don't agree with that. I really don't. Alfonso Davies is a great asset. He's a very good player. But quite a few times, I'm pretty sure that right now, on the 16th of January 2022, the most important player in the Canadian national team is Kyle Larin. He's the one that's scoring the goals. He's the one that's everything. He's the best goal scorer in the Canadian national team history.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that.
But there is one thing that Alfonso Davies brought that is, he attracted so many players towards him. These players like Wissam Hutchinson. Okay.
He's coming back, man. He's coming back. I'm just saying that it's not a big problem if he's not here. Yeah, but it's not a big problem. We should be able to win those 3 games without him. Like, we're not playing the Brazil, Italy, and Spain. We're playing. I'm playing Salvador.
The US is gonna be a tough game, man.
Okay, that's just one game. If you win the other 2, should be okay.
Yeah, but
he strikes
again.
Yeah,
really, man. But I'm kind of on the fence because Davies, he's crucial to the team. He's crucial to the team, and the way he attracts players towards him.
Yes,
that's why
3 and 4 at a time.
Yeah, exactly. That's why Eustachio. That's why Hutchinson. That's why Larin have a second more on the ball. Is because there's so many players like locked into Davies.
Exactly.
Always. So it's gonna take a bit of tactical imagination by John Herdman, and it's gonna be. I don't say the team can't win without Davies. That's not at all what I'm saying. I think we really have a quality squad. What I do say is that to get that extra second that Davies would give them, it's gonna take something different now. So
of course, he's a world-class player, Sam. He's a world-class player for sure. He's very important. Yes, for sure. But it doesn't mean that we have to be like it's like we can't be pessimistic because we have amazing player, and I named quite a few ones, and I forgot about Tajan Buchanan. You have quite a few players that can make the difference. We're not a one-man team, and it's funny because at the beginning of the show, Chan gave us a comment saying that Scott Arfield announced his retirement from the national team. Yeah. At one point, not having Scott Arfield within the squad was like the end of the world. Now, we haven't seen Scott Arfield for maybe 2 years, 3 years right now, and we forgot about him. We kind of forgot about him. So you know what? I'm not saying that it's going to happen. It's going to be the same for Alfonso Davies. Not at all, because he's an amazing player. But all I'm saying is that we're reading a bit too much about this. We're supposed to win. I'm sorry. We have games in Honduras and in El Salvador. We should be able at least to win one of those games and to get one draw in these games. And then at home against the US, with the US being our biggest rivals, with the history between the teams, with the fact that we went and got a draw in the US, I think that's already going to help us. So I don't think it's yes, it's a big loss, but I don't think it's the end of the world either. I'm pretty sure that Canada is going to pull it out. We'll see.
Yeah, for sure. But
See.
it's gonna be a test, and that's important that we are tested without Davies because you can't lean on him all the time. You need our players to step up, and it's gonna be interesting to see how the team collectively steps up from this. And that's kind of my question that I was preparing to you guys. Is this a case of one individual stepping up, and really taking Davies' position and just swirling through it, or is it more of a team effort and maybe even a change of setup to compensate for Davies' loss?
No, it's a team effort. It's exactly the same that we've seen in the women's team. In the women's team, we've been asking the same question to the women's, saying, "How are you going to replace Christine St. Clair?" And the answer has always been the same. We're going to work all together. We cannot find one player to replace her. We're going to work all together to replace her as a group. And that's exactly what Canada is going to have to do. They're going to have to replace Alphonsa Davies as a group. And I agree, because, again, it's a bad thing, but at the same time, it's maybe a good thing because it's going to bring that group together,
Yeah.
saying that, you know what, you don't have that talisman, like Yves said earlier. You don't have that player that's going to go dribble 6-7 players to score a goal. You're going to have to work together to find a solution. So we'll see.
Yeah.
Yep. Completely agree.
Cool. So, we just hope that Davies is gonna recover fully and everything's gonna be good. And for Team Canada, we just continue the hot streak because it's so far so good for us. Yeah. So, guys, I think we're done for part one. Are we?
I am, if you are.
Hady, anything to add?
Anything else?
Oh, do you want to talk about that tweet about Waterman from one of our followers? He asked about if Waterman is going to be an important part of the squad. I don't.
That
I
was
forgot who
in
it
social
was.
media this week.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that. Yeah, so I'm okay with
So
that.
Hady's already in part two. So Eve, go ahead and start us
Alrighty,
on
Hady
social
got
media
us
in part
started. Unfortunately,
Sorry. It's okay. It happens, Eve. Let's move on to part two. Eve, you can start with social media. There was something about a Waterman tweet, right?
Yep. Alrighty. Yes, we did receive a tweet about Joel Waterman. We were not the only folks to receive a tweet about Joel Waterman today, as a matter of fact. Asking, some questions on the lad. So let me just drag it up here. Sorry. I believe that's the one. Well, yeah, so Fabrizio out of Italy seems to have taken quite an interest in MLS, to say the least. So he's an Italian guy, evidently, who follows MLS. Here in Italy, you can't get much information on the league. Start following Bologna, owned by owner of Montreal, Joey Sputo. Could you tell me about Waterman's situation, transfers, ownership, etc.? Thank you so much. So, what Joel Waterman? I know we haven't talked about him a lot. We did talk about him in one of our postseason wrap-ups for sure, but do we think he's got a place this season? Starting?
Of course. Starting 11, I'm not sure because we have to see the other guys. I'm not really sure about the level of Corbo and Torkelson, but we already know if we're playing with a back three, we already know that Kemal Miller and Alistair Johnston should be in the back three, should be starters. Now there's this spot in the middle of them too.
Yes.
Is it going to be Waterman? Waterman has been very, very, very good at that spot, and I think he can be a very good asset. But I don't know about Corbo and Torkelson, so I think he's going to be a rotation piece at first, or maybe a starter at first and then move as a rotation piece. I don't think he's going to be a regular starter like every game.
I would rather see him though in the middle of the back three. Then
yes, and that. Thank you, Eve. Thank you.
Yeah,
yes,
exactly. Yeah, but he played as a right center back, and he did very well last year too.
But I think with what he did last year, Waterman, he should be given the right to really lose his place because he won it fair and square. Now we've got better at center back. Obviously, Johnson coming in, kind of takes his place at right center back. But that middle spot that Camacho used to have is up for grabs. Corbo seems to be front leader if you listen to the reports. So young, and raw. I mean, I think Waterman. I liked what I saw from him when he did play in that center position, and I think he should be allowed to really challenge for that position and maybe win it because he was very very good at the second part of the season. He progressed a lot, and he was really committed to this team. He showed you know commitment levels that were as high as those of Camacho, of Miller, and should be able to not to be labeled at the start as a rotation player. And if he does become a rotation player, fair, but I think he should be able to really have a fair battle for that center of the back three spot. That's my opinion because
Yeah, I
I like
agree.
what I've seen of him.
I
Yeah.
agree with you.
Right on. So I hope that shed some light. Moving right along, we have friend of the pod, Yves Laurent, who
Yes.
said, and I'm going to translate this from French. My feeling is that Montreal could have gone back another 4 spots to pick up another 100,000 in TAM without any risk of losing their players. Even the animators were panicked. Yeah. So, do you guys think that Jogia Quizera would have gone at any point to another team in MLS in the first round? Or do you
I
think
think,
Montreal could have waited and waited and waited?
but yeah, Renard did talk about it, and he said that they had a list and they had quite a few targets on that list. So if it wasn't the Jaya, it would have been someone else on their list. So yeah, no, I think it's a good move from Montreal. I think that's a very smart move from Montreal.
and the commentators kind of panicked. They didn't even have a highlight video prepared for him, like all the other first round players that came out or so. But uh, what I do like about that trade is that a few years ago we probably would have traded our first round pick
Yeah.
altogether for 100K of GAMs. So going back 4 spots for that, I think it's proved two things. It's proved that Montreal are really serious about the draft, and it's proved how much draftees have gained notoriety throughout the league.
Mhm.
Because if you're giving that quantity of money away to just go back to advance 4 spots if you're in New York, it's proving that the draft has really grown. So it's good. It's really good.
Inflation is, I guess, hitting everywhere, including in
There you go.
MLS.
Yeah, for sure.
Alrighty, next on to Tristan d'Amour, also friend of the pod. This is love this quote. I think Alistair Johnston's going to be full of quotes. Alistair Johnston tells Olivier Brett on 91.9, that's the sports radio station in Montreal for anybody not familiar, that his biggest pet peeve is people taking their natural talent for granted and letting it go to waste. Tristan couldn't agree more, because it was his biggest pet peeve as a swimmer that had some talent but was very far from a Phelps. So that brings me to a question for you guys, just out of curiosity. What is your biggest pet peeve in sports?
Oh.
In football or other?
Wow. Okay, that came out of nowhere. Did you want to start?
Yeah.
Do you want to start? Go ahead.
My biggest pet peeve is zonal defending. I got no time for it. I got no time. Every time I see a zonal defense start up, I'm like, no, man to man. Give me a man to man defense.
Okay, for a set play, yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate it. Every time I see it, I cringe. I'm like, no, this is the worst. This is just the trendy, it's like the man lying behind the wall the last couple of years, which really took off, which was trendy, which seems to have died. So that's my pet peeve.
Yeah, mine is. Yeah, go ahead, Sam.
Maybe not my biggest thing, because it kind of got me out of surprise. But there's one thing that I don't like is that when you see a youngster coming in a game that very inexperienced and he's got a really good scoring opportunity, and you see him trying to pass to that veteran player not far when he could have taken a shot. That sometimes it pains me. I'm like, just put your foot through the ball. You know how to do it. You got there by doing it. So just the young kids that maybe don't have the confidence to take up big responsibilities and big moments, and the easy way, and most of us did it when we used to play. You look for the experienced guy who's in not sometimes not in as good a position, but that's it's kind of the respect type of thing to do, but not always the good thing. So yeah, youngsters who should take a bit more responsibility sometimes.
Me, all the teams. There's a lot of teams that play possession football and possession soccer, and I like that. But sometimes when they play possession soccer, there's nobody really that goes between the lines in the middle of the
Yeah.
pitch. And this really drives me crazy. And I'm like, why nobody's there? Why, like, just, I know that it's cramped up and everything, but if nobody comes and just pushes the opposition, nothing's gonna happen, right? So this really drives me crazy. And the whole possession football, of course, have evolved a few times since the beginning of times of football. And the new generation of possession football was introduced by Guardiola, right? And it was working very well with Barcelona, right? But afterwards, at one point, we started seeing that Barcelona having a lot of the possession and nothing created because nobody was really going between the lines. And I've seen that so many times on teams that really try to do that and not getting anybody in the lines. And this drives me crazy. It drives me crazy. I know it's hard. It's hard when you're a player and everything. And I completely understand. But, when you look at the video afterwards, like, you should learn that, someone should go between the lines. And, this really drives me crazy. So it is my pet peeve.
Right on. Okay, well, interesting to know. And now we know what Alistair Johnson's is as well. And I think, thank goodness, he wasn't in Montreal squad perhaps a couple of times in the past few years, because he would have been annoyed every day. No shade thrown. All right. Moving right along to Inter Montrealer. On the topic of course, the big game coming up for Canada, particularly versus the US, says you're Herdman, 15 games away from the game versus the USA, possibly no fans at the stadium. You get asked to play somewhere else without fans. I think he's channeling you, Hady, here, to get closer
it's like a choice, is it?
to Central America for the Salvador and Honduras games, or stay in Hamilton. USA only has one away game this window, and that's versus Canada. So he actually made a poll for this, and I included what the results were. I did not vote in this myself, evidently, just to be clear. And sorry, Inter Montreal, I missed it. So he had suggested 4 choices: play in Mexico versus USA, play in Florida, play in Hamilton, or play in Costa Rica. And play in Hamilton, despite in Montreal's scenario there being no fans, which we don't know whether or not that's going to happen yet. That was the winner. Play in Hamilton, regardless of if there are fans or not. So what do you guys think? Obviously, we don't know the situation, what the decision in Ontario is going to be for the end of January, but nonetheless, it's always a risk in these changing times.
Listen, you cannot play a home game in Mexico and Costa Rica, so sorry, but no. No, this is unacceptable for me. It can maybe happen in club games, but not in national teams.
I was gonna say NYCFC is playing a game in LA as a home game for Champions League.
Yeah, but at least it's the same country.
I
right?
guess, yeah. At least,
come on, no, but I wouldn't want that. Now, Florida, even if it's in the US, do you want to give that home advantage away to the US? No, I don't want to. So judging about the choices that he gave, for me, Hamilton is the choice by default. Really by default. But if we had other choices, like maybe Montreal or Calgary, or maybe I would have chosen something else. But
maybe somewhere like it wouldn't be minus 30 or whatever it will be outside.
Yeah, but even if it was
In Canada.
Yeah, exactly. In Canada, in Montreal, at the Olympic Stadium, I would sign right away. I would do it right
I'd
away.
love it. Yeah, I'd love it
Right
too.
away. Right away.
I don't
I know
think
a lot of
many
people
of
don't like
those
that.
players' clubs would be particularly thrilled to see the surface on
I
which they'd
don't
be
care.
playing.
They don't have a say in this. They don't have a say in this.
They have a say.
No, they don't. It's an international FIFA
No. I
They
know.
don't have a say in this.
But they might have a memory down the road.
We don't care. Do you think they had a memory when we went to St. Kitts and Nevis and all those things? They still went there, and they're still being called up, the players, and they're still coming to the international,
It's been
window.
a minute since he went to St. Kitts.
A couple of years out of the 3 years. So I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Anyway, I digress. I would not subject any of those players to playing on the Olympic Stadium surface. I'm sorry. I can't in good conscience. I feel bad enough that Montreal players have to do it, let alone the national team. It would be like shame on Canada. We would just look so bad. But no, I agree. I agree that regardless of if fans are there or not, the game does need to be played on this side of the border.
Oh yeah, of course. And Hamilton is the obvious choice, so that would have been my choice for the poll too, I guess. It's pretty evident. You won't play a home game in Florida against the States. That makes no sense. So yeah, I'll go for Hamilton.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Good to know. Interesting. Good to know. And Hady is left field and goes for Montreal. But we're all in agreement that it should be basically somewhere in Canada. At least we agree on that. Alrighty. And our final tweet for this evening goes to KJ at WPG Garito. Says, so this is in reference to the news that Scott Arfield has retired from the national team. Just to give you the context, I included it in my picture. KJ says, there's obviously more to the story here, but either way, big blow in a qualification window where he could have been very influential, and he's in great form too right now. Ugh. So I know we touched on it really briefly earlier, but any thoughts on Scott Arfield's retirement, given that he's not necessarily, I don't think he's at the end of his footballing career by any stretch of the imagination. So any thoughts, guys?
Do I really need to repeat myself?
I've heard enough about the blue cap, I think, to...
Nah, yeah, but again, just maybe for the guy that tweeted... sorry, I forgot your name, KJ. Yeah, just to let you know, KJ, in my opinion, if the squad doesn't want you, no, you're not welcome anymore. And it seems like, from what we've seen and from what the rumors are saying, he's not welcome within the dressing room of the Canadian national team. So, yes, he might be a very good player, but if he's a nuisance in the locker room, I don't want him. It's as simple as that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, all right, cool, man. We talked about it a lot there, but yeah, the same thing. It's unfortunate because he's a really quality player, but these are things that happen in sports. Sometimes you clash with your teammates. You're not on the same page, and that's it's not always what someone like John Herdman particularly would want in his dressing room. So
yeah. And in part of his statement announcing that his retirement, Scott Arfield did say, quote, I have a fantastic relationship with John Herdman. I want to thank him for trusting and giving me the honor to captain the team in his early days as a manager. Thank you to every staff member, every supporter, and every teammate along the way. I'm desperate to see the boys get to Qatar and let the world see what a fantastic place Canadian soccer is in. So certainly, definitely, I'm curious whether perhaps this is a retirement wherein he was perhaps told that he no longer had his place. I'd be curious, but nonetheless, at least it's kind of ending with a graceful note. At least we know that saga is over.
Yeah,
and that Scott Arfield, that specter of uncertainty doesn't loom over our heads anymore. And it's at the end of the day, it's unfortunate that the Scott Arfield with Canada story ends as it did, because as we talked about earlier, he was such an important player. He was the most important player in the Canadian national team for several years, really.
Yeah.
You know, he was playing in the Premier League, and he would show up to those crappy matches in St. Kitts and in, you know, I mean, when we would get lambasted by countries I didn't realize had footballing federations. So yeah, you know, it's the end of an era is all I can say, really.
Yeah, most definitely.
Yeah, it was in 2016 that he started playing.
It
with
was
the
later
national
in the
team.
game, yeah.
But yeah,
those were dark times for the Canadian national
exactly.
team.
But you know what? Yeah, I agree with you. But you know, again, if you don't show up when you know the team needs you, then you're not welcome, right? So again, I don't know. I said my piece. You know, it's unfortunate that this happened. It's unfortunate that we're not going to see that quality player playing within the squad. That's for sure. But did he dig his own grave? Maybe.
Okay. Anyway, end of an era. Let's end it on that, because we did get some good moments from Arfield in the Canadian men's national team jersey, and the torch has been passed on. And actually, we did have a question just come in that I'd like to add as an ad hoc social media, if you will. And it's from Chan. And there's been a lot of rumors that Steven Eustáquio is going to be joining FC Porto after they've loaned out a central midfielder. So what do we think about this rumor, guys?
It was that rumor has been going on for a while. He was supposed to join the team even during the summer transfer window. So I hope that happens. I hope that happens, because we're going to see Steven Eustáquio play at even a higher level than what he's been playing at right now, because he's playing as at Passos Ferreira right now in the Portuguese league. So playing in a big club in Portugal, and sorry, but even a very big club in Europe altogether that's used to play in the Champions League every year, that has won the Champions League in 2003. A great final, by the way, between Porto and Monaco. So you know, it could be amazing for him, but also a lot for the Canadian national team. We'll have yet another player in a top club, and that will be amazing.
Yeah. Fantastic, you know, and you look at Eustáquio, he's a top quality player. It was a question of time before a bigger club would come after him. So Porto, you know, he's staying in the same championship, but now he's gonna play big European games, and that experience is crucial for Canada. And you know, he's so important for Canada. Eustáquio, he's in the top lads of this team. So definitely a great move if it does happen, and it can only be good for everyone, you know, for Porto, for himself, and for the national team. So, yeah, I'd love it to happen.
No, definitely 100% agree. I think it would be a great move for the player, a great move for the Canadian national team, and I think he would fit decently in Porto. I've only seen their European matches this year, but I could see him fitting in for sure. You know, I don't think it's a completely out of left field rumor. So yeah, no. let's cross our fingers and definitely hope it comes through. Anyway, with that being said, that does wrap up social media. So I believe, Hady, you are in the driver's seat now.
Yeah, I am. It's time for choices, guys. It's time for choices. I do have a few choices for you, but let's wait for that bell ring, and then I'll start giving you the choices. So for the people that are listening to us or watching us right now on live, unfortunately, I don't have the sound right away. So I'm just going to give like 2-3 seconds blank for the people that are listening in the audio podcast, and I'll start right away. So let's start with the first choice. Guys, you receive transfer fees. 2 million, not transfer offers, sorry. 2 million for Romel Kyoto and 5 million for George Mihailovic. Do you transfer them both, or do you keep them both? You cannot transfer one of them. It's either both or not. You would have $7 million to buy whoever you want afterwards, or you choose to keep them both because you see some sort of continuity with those players in the squad. Eve, let's start with you.
Sell them.
You would sell them.
Yeah.
And who would you bring the 7 million? Do you have something?
No. Oh, no. That's not my job. No. Let me think. I would actually sell them. I think it would actually help to attract players to Montreal, because I assume that these 2 million and 5 million offers are probably coming from, well, not within MLS, not with a lower league, I would assume. So that would, give some more credence to Montreal being a good spot for talented players to come and get a look in, if they want to make the move abroad. So I would be all for selling them. As to who I would bring in, I'm really not sure. I don't follow the Bill Manning scouting way of life. I haven't looked on Football Manager, Transfer Market lately to see whose contract is ending. So I don't know exactly who I would bring in, but obviously we would definitely need to bring in attacking-minded players with that.
But you would restart the whole cycle all over again right now, and you would put in jeopardy the 2022 season if you're selling.
Two players. I mean, the defense is still there. The defensive core is still there.
Okay, good. That's your choice. Sam, curious to hear yours.
Yeah, I'd sell too.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
That's good. That gives me time to go on Transfer Market and look around.
No, but listen, Kyoto's 30 now, and we got him for Victor Creber. I don't think we would ever have gotten 2 million for Victor Creber.
Yes.
So, if you count all the goals Kyoto gave us plus 2 million, it's a great move. The original trade of trading Kyoto for Victor Cabrera. And when I see Bologna just sniffing around Mihailovic, I said, maybe we should sell him 5 million if it comes, let him go, because
I'd be happy to get 5 million versus the pretend money we got for Louis Binks.
Yeah, I don't want to see a Binks 2.0 with Mihailovic, so if we can money him before something happens, I think it would be good, but 7 million for these two players. I think you have more than enough money to turn around and replace them efficiently, maybe even get your squad better. So yeah, I'd make the move. Mihailovic is full of potential, but we know he will leave. So at some point, we accepted that he will. And Kyoto's, he's in his 30s now, so still a couple of good years. But I mean, the way he plays, he won't play until 37, eh? So. I think if we can make a couple of bucks on him right now, it would be good, So yeah, I'd make the moves.
I agree.
Wow. I would not sell them at all. Okay. First of all, we're in year 3 of the project of Olivier Renard, Thierry Henry / Wilfried Nancy. This is the year where I want to see some results. Those two are a part of the backbone of the whole project. I wouldn't throw the whole project away right now, not at all. And it's so hard to buy a striker right now. It's so hard to find a striker for that price and that can, first of all, score a lot of goals, but also adapt to Montreal with the weather, everything that's in North America. You're gonna go. It's always a gamble to go find someone in South America. No, I would not sell them at all. I would wait until the end of the year and maybe sell them. But I think that this year, it's so important for Olivier Renard and Wilfried Nancy to get results, to get into the playoffs. And we talked about it last week, that I would not sell them, both of them, right away.
I'm pretty sure Joey Saputo would come down and say, excuse me, $7 million. All I want is for this club to be profitable.
I don't agree, but that we're not in Joey Saputo's mind, so I don't agree about that. But yeah, let's move on to the second choice. Guys, a new president is appointed tomorrow on the 17th of January 2022. And he decides to let go of the Saputo Stadium and build a brand new one, top of the art, amazing stadium, like top technology and everything in Brossard.
No, I live 10 minutes from Saputo. Come on.
What did you think about that? Would you want that new president to come in or not?
Oh, come on.
Oh man.
Sam, you have to start this time, man.
Okay.
Go for it.
You know what? I think I wouldn't. I think I wouldn't. Because one thing that's great about Saputo is I know it's in Hochelaga. It's not central in Montreal, but there's a way to get there for pretty much everyone, by transport and stuff. And you need there's something special about Stade Saputo. I just love Stade Saputo, and I don't necessarily want a new stadium, even less in Brassard. So no, I would say no, but oh, you caught me off guard here, man.
I have to. It's choices, right? So
Yeah, no, man, no. Keep
No.
good old Stade Saputo. If you have to work on it, renovate it, do it. But yeah, no.
I'm just gonna answer Sébastien Grenier. Maybe it's the first time that you are here on the show on choices. It's impossible situations that are here, and we're not talking about. We're not speculating or anything. We're just giving impossible situations that would, of course, maybe there's maybe 0.5% that it would happen. So that's not the point of the segment. It's more to have a discussion and to give headaches to Eve and Sam. So Eve, I'm waiting for your answer. So
you gave me a headache, man. Don't worry.
Honestly, it's super inconvenient. Like, no joke. I live 10 minutes from Stade Saputo. So for me, I'm like, go to hell. But honestly, Stade Saputo is not like a jewel of MLS in any sense of the imagination. So for me, I would rather have a stadium that is dignified, a stadium where the Canadian men's national team might want to come and play, or where the MLS All-Star Game might happen. I mean, not that I'm super into that, but where there can be more marketing opportunities. So for me, I think it would be better to have a state-of-the-art, high-quality stadium, even if it means my living situation is now pointless.
You know what, guys? I maybe I'm not gonna. There's a lot of players. There are a lot of fans that are not going to agree with me. I love Stade Saputo.
Me too, man.
I think it's an amazing stadium. Yes, it's a bit old right now. I completely agree. But it's still it's a stadium that's exactly what I want, that I want to see for a club like CF Montreal. Now it does need to be updated. It does need to have a revamp. That I agree. But I love it. I love that it's not far. It's really accessible on through metro and everything, so you can come from anywhere in Montreal pretty easily. So no, I would not sell at all Stade Saputo. I would let go of Stade Saputo. Let's move on to the next choice, guys. Again, an impossible situation. Guys, would you rather have Bjorn Johnson as a starting striker in your team, or would you have as a starting center back in the middle of the back three, Dean Boulderback?
Oh my gosh.
Go ahead, Eve.
I'll take the. You know what? Eric Chenois, when he joined us for the postmortem, he made a case for the intangibles that Bjorn Johnson contributed, like with his his hold-up play, and with his ability to create space for teammates and so on and so forth. DM Boulder would do that, but for the opposition. Therefore, I will take Bjorn. That's a silly choice. I'll keep Bjorn.
And Chan is answering, and he prefers Boldor.
Chan,
are you an Eve, Team Eve, or Team Chan?
The problem is we didn't see much of both, but I wasn't. I thought Baldor had everything to succeed. He had the size, the left foot that we don't have a lot of center backs that have. But after when you looked at him defending, it was pretty erratic and pretty painful at times. So I and I have to say, when Eric Chenois came on our show, he sold me something that I really didn't see, and he made me think a lot about what we had witnessed about Johnson in the season, and he kind of opened my mind to giving him a second shot at it. So I would give Johnson the spot, because I don't know, man. It's he has he scored everywhere he's went, and except for Montreal. So maybe something was just wrong at this season, but I'd like to see him again.
A lot of players need a year to adapt themselves to their new environment. So, and we said it even before Eric during the season. We're like, you know what, we're going to give him a year, and maybe next year we'll see the real Bjorn Johnson. So yeah, I agree. This would be my choice, Bjorn Johnson again as a striker between those two. Last choice for today, guys. As we talked about a bit earlier, Alphonso Davies out of the international picture. Scott Arfield not here anymore. Who would be your replacement in the squad between those three? Do you go with the offensive midfielder Mitrovic that hasn't been called up yet, as is not capped yet, a young offensive midfielder that plays in Serbia? Would you go with Harry Patton, that's more a box-to-box midfielder / defensive midfielder that plays in Scotland in Ross County? Or would you go with Tyler Pasher, that's a bit more experienced at 27? He can play multiple positions, can play on the left, on the right, as a wing back, as a winger, he can play everywhere, but is not, of course, as flashy as the other two young guns. Sam, I'll let you start this one. Who would be your choice between those three, Mitrovic, Patton, or Pasher?
Yeah, I know Mitrovic is an interesting one because he looks like a bag of tricks and has a lot of potential. He's never really, never played yet. So my choice would be Pasher because of what Davies kind of bring. He would be roaming around and playing multiple positions. What Pasher is able to do, and that experience, will be important particularly in that US game. So. Yeah, I think I'd go with Pasher for that one, but it's far fetched to replace Davies, right?
Yeah, and I mean, really, none of those players are exactly the profile, but nonetheless, like
you're not gonna find anybody.
No.
From the
Oh yeah, no.
That's a fact. Yeah,
you're not.
I think what goes against Tyler Pasher would be that he's an MLS player, therefore he's in the off season, so he's not playing. I'm sure, like every other member of the professional soccer world, he's keeping himself super fit, and he's working really hard to stay in shape and to obviously start getting in shape now with Houston. But that I think would probably go a little bit against him in this window, and therefore I vote. Let's try something new and exciting. And let's see what Stefan Mitrovic can bring. I think he's exciting, and he's got a lot of offensive talent. And he's obviously lighting up a lot of eyes in Serbia right now.
You know what? I'm a big Tyler Pasher guy. So I like having a player that can play multiple position. I think when you play 3 games in the international window in 10 days, you're going to need a lot of players that can play multiple positions just to slot in if you have injuries, you have COVID, if you have stuff. So I think that during this international window to replace Davies, you can't really think about getting someone that can play only in one or two positions. Getting someone that can play in multiple positions is a big plus. So I would go with Tyler Pasher. And again, he's been in the squad already. He doesn't have a lot to travel. It's going to be very hard for him to get integrated into that squad. So for me, Tyler Pasher is the choice. Now, of course, I'll be very happy to see Mitrovic or Patton also, because I'm always excited about the young guys, right? So yeah, I'll be very excited if they are here too. And that will be it for choices today. I hope you guys had fun.
Always.
Yeah, man, it's always fun choices. Yeah, so that kind of closes out this show, guys. Episode 64 is done. Thank you, Hady. Thank you, Eve, again for very interesting every week to talk to you guys. And to all our listeners, thank you to those who interacted with us during the show. It's really cool to have your input and your interactions, of course. I hope you enjoyed the episode, everyone. It was our second live show ever. Big thanks to all of you who reached out this week via our social media accounts. It was a pleasure. And big thanks to CanFC for the platform, and to all you listeners. You are the reason we're standing tall for more than a year already. And for Yves Paul, Hedy Raphael, and myself, Samuel Savy, have a great week, and we catch you for another episode Sunday of The Ball is Wrong.